Salutations all, this is Juiciest Slice, per usual here to root out the devil in the details and discuss another weird flick. The title on the roster this time around was particularly divisive, even among fans. Something of an unholy blend of the slasher, unwashed mountain man, and rape and revenge subgenres, and a bit of a holdover from the savage cinema of the 1970s besides. The in some ways vile and repulsive but weirdly captivating flick, the one and only
Happy Mother's Day! Mother's Day.
You know what I meant.
I swear, sometimes you boys are just little savages.
Despite boasting a remake, this flick has a sensibility that makes it stand alone. I won't lie, it kind of ruined Tricks for me. Fair enough. Thank you to anyone taking the time to check this out. I deeply appreciate it. So what do you get when you take nasty young men and give them a mother who not only condones their deviance, but encourages them to perpetrate their depraved acts? In more recent years, you get the much more serious and based on a true story The Girl Next Door. But if you look back to 1980, when a massive political shift was in the works, backdoor dealings were stealing the election, and cultural malaise was causing the national denial that empowered it all, you get what some consider a grade Z film but is more akin to exploitation gold. Well, maybe bronze. Okay, raw copper straight out of the ground. Mother's Day. Since this is a film of extremes, from the storyline itself to the reception by fans and critics, as its prominent horror director Eli Roth's favorite horror film, while respectable horror film scholar John Kenneth Muir believes it has no redeeming value whatsoever, my ultimate assessment will answer the question, who do I agree with more? What, if anything, is wrong with this film?
Yeah, and while we're at it, what's wrong with diarrhea, huh?
If anything about this trips your fancy, please like, subscribe, and share. I'd appreciate that too.
Yes.
Sometimes you know right away when something's not a good fit.
Directed by Charles Kaufman, who wrote the script with Warren Leight, everybody's got to start somewhere. Produced by the legendary co-founders of Troma Entertainment, Lloyd Kaufman and Michael Herz, the film stars actress, writer, producer, and director Nancy Hendrickson, as Abby, who lives in Chicago to care for her cantankerous mother.
What? You're out whoring around when you know I have to take my pills!
An actress of limited roles, Tiana Pierce,
I want the hors d'oeuvres cleared in 15 minutes sharp. And tell Joshua to stop jerking off in the kitchen. And bring some ice now.
Yes, Mom.
as Trina, a glamorous model who lives in LA. She was only ever in this, Deborah Luce,
You son of a bitch!
well, that was a little harrowing, as Jackie, who lives in New York City and evidently has a frisky paramour. I'm trying to put my finger on why he's recognizable. Frederick Coffin, as reprehensible Ike. Ah, that's what I remember him from. Actor and lover of nature, which helped him for this one, Michael McCleary,
Have a good day.
as the equally repellent ignoramus Adley, and longtime character actress Beatrice Pons,
You city folks think 'cause I'm living out in the way I'm out of touch. But I say only happens if you let it.
True that, but I know what you've been up to, lady, so I don't have any plans to listen to you, as the ignominious mother.
You treat her like a mental patient.
The film immediately plays with prejudices when we meet a hippie-ish couple,
I hate hippies. And the way I always talk about protecting the earth and then drive around in cars and get poor gas mileage and wear those stupid bracelets. I hate them. I want to kick them in the nuts.
and a seemingly innocuous older woman leaving a self-help meeting.
Maybe we'll get a lift from somebody, huh?
Charlie. Oh, don't be silly. I was going to offer you a lift anyways. Tape like I was giving a ride to strangers after all we've been through.
The film Grammar, the circumstances make it easy to believe one thing. These people are up to no good.
Is your husband waiting for you?
What?
The car breaks down, and the film goes to great pains to indicate
Come on!
The old lady is in danger. But nope.
Thanks.
I have a surprise for you!
Quite to the contrary, it's the young couple who are in for it. As a pair of grubby miscreants attack. And the older woman, their mother, watches on approvingly. And with her boys bearing witness, even participates, revealing her warped sensibilities.
Thank you for sharing with me. I love you.
Before offering her motherly endorsement of their foul actions.
Darlings, you have made your mother very proud.
We next meet a trio of women who have been friends since college. Trina, Abby, and Jackie consider themselves old-school pranksters.
Congratulations, you've just been goofed on by the Rat Pack.
In the years following college, they went their separate ways, but make a point of meeting for mystery weekends. Jackie planned this year's surprise destination excursion, a camping trip in New Jersey, and as she departs for the trip, she seeks validation from her love interest only to be rather callously denied.
I love you.
Now take care.
But she's meeting up with her besties and won't let it get her down.
You know where girls get laid around here?
Nice of you to show up, Jackie.
Trina shows early signs of skepticism.
Where the hell are we anyway?
Rexburg, New Jersey.
But they're bound for the boonies.
Well, I don't know about the two of you, but I'm getting out of here.
Either the place or near to the grounds where the Jersey Devil purportedly haunts the woods to this day, but they have a lot more to worry about than an old myth. I feel like this whole next sequence is a let's nail this moment. If you're deep rural and you pull up and some kids are playing dueling banjos badly, that's a pretty clear sign. But when the local shopkeeper goes out of his way to express apprehension for your well-being...
Why do you want to go up there, lady? Don't go messing up in deep band.
You're really proceeding at your own risk. The ladies think they're real pranksters, and their impetuosity really knows no bounds.
Oh, Jesus. I thought I told you to stay in the car.
The Rat Pack shenanigans walk the path of rudeness, and would fit in well with some of the prank channels infesting social media today. They really don't have an ounce of shame.
It's all right. We're all college roommates.
Little known fact, if you commit misdemeanors with college roommates, it indemnifies you of guilt. I would guess he's grateful she ignored his warning.
You get what you deserve, them deep bands and lesbians. You won't be causing no one no trouble no more.
Whoa, he put a stamp on it.
Oh, that's pretty woodsy, right?
No worries, they won't get lost. Not breadcrumbs, but a trail of beer cans will lead them back to the car.
This is a great dance. Frank!
Since it's their vacation, the ladies get high and do the only reasonable thing. Sitting around the campfire eating s'mores, they recount a past incident in which they stuck it to one of Jackie's former boyfriends.
Thought I told you could call me Dauber.
I'll stick with Brad. For his boorish behavior, they humiliated him on the very baseball field where he enjoyed great achievements.
And they're off tonight. We're thrilled to present that guy who dreams in instant replay. The biggest asshole on campus.
Unfortunately, a theme of Jackie's life that will play out in the worst ways is revealed.
Men were always pushing you around.
Men. Being pushed around is the story of Jackie's life.
Unbeknownst to the Rat Pack, There are lurkers in the woods stalking their campsite. The first night passes without incident, and the next day the ladies do some skinny dipping, which doesn't go unnoticed, and maybe proved a little too tantalizing. In all fairness to the ladies, they are in the middle of nowhere and have no reason to believe anybody is around. But in my experience, no matter how deep you go, there is a chance of running into somebody. That night they're in their sleeping bags preparing for sleep, when out of nowhere they're set upon.
We only let you see that.
Assailed. And dragged off. Roughly.
The situation is grim.
As they are whisked away to a dilapidated house.
It's the nicest thing anyone's ever said about this place.
Where the assailant's mother waits. Competitive and quarrelsome, to say they're as dumb as a bundle of sticks would be an insult to the bundle of sticks.
I don't think there's any reason to bring me into this.
The family dynamic proves.
I swear sometimes you boys act just like little savages.
Odder and odder. And this is when this film gets even weirder, as Mother oversees and even guides the boys' deviant crimes, as she decides it will be Jackie who is the first to be involved in their monkey shines.
Man is the only animal capable of now, she did it for me.
Not that monkey shines, but that's a pretty good George Romero flick. She's taken outdoors while Trina and Abby are left in an upstairs room, close enough to a window to witness what their friend endures.
I don't know, what do you want to do?
Which seems like it's immediately going to go there, if you catch my drift. But it turns out there's more to it than that.
Why don't you get the Kodak?
Yeah, because capturing this event for posterity is the best idea. The fetishism on display is on another level, and nothing short of gross, evidently including strange play acting and age play.
Okay, lady. Now, walk like a little girl.
I'm not one to kink shame, but damn. Adley does his dirty business with Jackie while Ike snaps photos, Mother watching avidly, the others forced to listen to the unrelenting ravaging. This is all heartrending and a gut punch, and no matter how you tear it, it's a scene that's disturbing on multiple levels. After the nastiness, Mother advises Ike had better make sure to bolt the door.
There's nobody out there.
Now you just do as I say. Queenie's out there.
Queenie. I wonder what the inclusion of this heretofore unknown mysterious character will mean. In the morning, Trina is more than a little fed up. How do you express that you're so entitled you have no grasp of the potential danger you're in?
You backwards, perverted piece of shit!
Unless someone has given express permission to launch a loogie into their face, or paid extra as it were, it's never a good idea to just hawk away, especially when the recipient is the kind of rough-edged guy who might go ahead and cave in your skull.
She's completely bonkers, isn't she? Look at me when I'm talking to you!
I might have retaliated, but luckily for Trina, time's fleeting and they have a schedule and routine to keep. There are priorities. Cue training montage. Because when you're a killer in a horror film,
You have no idea how much cardio I have to do. It's ridiculous.
for reasons,
You gotta be able to run like a freaking gazelle without getting winded. And plus, there's that whole thing of making it look like you're walking, and everybody else is running their asses off.
You gotta keep in killer shape. Meanwhile, due to a total lack of respect for any ability they might have to escape, Trina and Abby are able to get loose of their bonds. While the brothers are up to some roughhousing egged on by Mother, Trina and Abby hatch a plan to extricate Trina. That goes a little awry. Trina would have to deal with the business if she fell, but in the meantime, Abby's hands are in the boardroom getting dressed down for insufficient planning. With the brothers distracted, as if birthed, Trina escapes. Not about to abandon her friends, she goes back inside to retrieve Abby, finding her in quite a state. The word mincemeat comes to mind.
Come on. Gotta get Jackie.
They search through the house and uncover Jackie conveniently stowed away in a drawer.
She's still alive. Come and help me get her out of here.
Serial killer Leonard Lake might have seen this movie.
What I want is an off-the-shelf sex partner. And when I'm tired, or satiated, or bored, or not interested, I simply want to put her away.
If true, not a great recommendation. The ladies try to make tracks but are caught. Only for Mother's histrionics.
My God, she'll attack anything. Queenie's in the woods. I just seen her.
To intrude.
I don't know what would have happened to me if you boys hadn't come along.
She's convinced without constant protection, Queenie will do away with her. But is Queenie real, or only a convenient control valve? Stay tuned to find out. With the hideous family momentarily detained, toting Jackie like a bag of oats, Trina and Abby traverse the woods. Eventually they stop so that Trina can go to the car while Abby waits with catatonic Jackie. Of course, the car didn't make out any better than Abby's hands. Speaking of Abby, she assembles a layer of foliage over Jackie. Did I have a blackout? Was there a time jump? Suddenly, in the course of Trina's wandering around, night is upon us. And rescue seems to arrive out of nowhere. How the vulgar family obtained a police car is neither here nor there, but surprise, surprise, the cop Trina is hugging without getting a good look at his face turns out to be Ike. Seeing their chances of escape evaporate before her eyes, Trina reacts. At some point she must have taken a self-defense course. Like a homing missile, her knee sure knows its way around a crotch, that's for sure, but that might be natural instincts too. Ike shoots at her as she skedaddles. For all their effort to get her out, Jackie succumbs to her injuries.
Jackie?
With Ike in hot pursuit, Trina, putting to use some of her prank game, tricks him quite spectacularly. And he takes a long drawn out tumble down the hill.
Yeah, I get it.
It's gotta be said, even after
An extremely long and very painful fall.
he bounces back pretty good.
Give me another chance. I'll kill him good.
Back at home, Adley's getting in his own trouble.
Ike says you say Queenie's still alive just so you can keep us around you. I tried to
Indignation, thy name is Mother.
give you boys a respectful life. And this is the thanks I get.
The vulgar family has quite a myth built around Queenie.
Adley, my sister Queenie was evil from birth. She was the most contrary baby they ever did see. Why, she was the only baby they ever seen with a full head of long white hair when she was born.
That only gets worse.
And you know she broke my neck while I was still in the crib.
With an ear out, Adley's heard other things.
Yeah, but Grandma says she shot Queenie after that. Cut off her ear to prove it.
Mother makes him promise he and Ike will always stick around to protect her from her definitely real sister. With a vow.
Jackie, every way you turned in life, you got shit. Well, now we'll do the fighting back for you.
It's on. A perfectly healthy form of therapy if Hannibal Lecter is your shrink. Abby finishes the job.
Come on, Abby, he's dead.
They attempt to get the corpse out of there, only for Ike to take notice. No matter what can be said about the guy, he commits when he dives. Abby proves craftier and craftier.
Look alive!
Not quite done for, Ike makes sure to go out. In really spectacular fashion. The guy still isn't done for, and it takes carving him up like a turkey with an electric knife to finally finish the job. I guess all that training didn't work out for them after all. With the boys dead, only their loving mother remains. The ladies use a prank tactic to draw her out.
Good work, boys!
Only to follow that up with taking her out.
I was sick one night.
We'll take care of you.
No!
Mother learns the one who stirs the shit pot has to lick the spoon. Abby might be working out some of her issues with her own mother.
We'll take care of you. Just like we've done all these years.
Smothered by a pair of inflatable tatas, there might be some kind of message in that, but I don't know what it is. Mother gets one of this film's most respectable deaths, clearly. With the revenge concluded, Trina and Abby give Jackie a proper burial. Well, that's probably not the best idea, but they have been traumatized deeply, and between exhaustion, exertion, and the adrenaline dump following the taking of life, they probably aren't operating with the clearest of minds. Abby laments.
It just doesn't seem fair.
But Trina sees it differently.
We were meant to survive. We were strong, both of us.
This valedictory moment is undercut by a sting in the tail, the sudden appearance of none other than the mythical Queenie. So what's Mother's Day getting at in its over-the-top brutal get dragged to the woods in a sleeping bag only to get besmirched kind of way? Oh boy, did critics, from sea to shining sea, collectively hate this film. Gang initiations are less brutal. Mexican cartels are more forgiving. Cliques of teenage mean girls equipped with the latest Samsung Galaxies aren't so cruel. Tom Buckley of the New York Times wasn't being hyperbolic at all when he wrote, "It's as though the persons responsible for it possess some fearsome power as yet unknown to science called anti-talent." Kevin Thomas of the Los Angeles Times responded a little better. Any traces of talent and dark humor that might show through Mother's Day are drowned by the cynicism and horrendousness of the entire enterprise. Robert Ebert? 0 stars. Evidently, to Catherine Chaplin of the Charlotte Observer, it was so bad it drove her to fascism, since she was of the mind that it makes censorship seem like a good idea, feeling it has no social redeeming warning message. It almost makes my head spin. Like, I know it's offensive, a little scandalous, and more than a little distasteful. But
it's only a movie. Only a movie.
As someone aware of crime and statistics, who knows the wide spectrum of horror going on as I make this video and you watch it, from corruption and legal theft to defilement and murder, it's hard for a film, even an offensive one, to ruffle my feathers. And I envy those critics the happy lives that led to them being capable of getting so vitriolic over a piece of media.
Must be nice.
The word talent, as in lack of, came up more than once, and I can lay to rest the claim no one behind the camera had any talent with one simple fact. Over 40 years later, and the film still has an impact, and continues to elicit further critical scrutiny. I'm covering it because it was a request, and when I thought about it, I realized it made for an interesting debate.
I don't know, this movie seems pretty bad, and I like Cannibal Campout.
In an era when films would start becoming a bit cookie-cutter, this one stands out from the pack, if for nothing else visceral impact. I see that it's one of those movies where they threw a bunch of elements against a board to see what stuck, that it includes a deadly preamble, a soothsayer, bad behavior, and colorful villains are but a handful examples of common tropes this film puts to use. What distinguishes it is a cockamamie recipe with a weird mix of ingredients, making for a unique dish not easily consumed by many, since it can be a little too spicy, too salty, too viscous, and a weird melange all around, the sort of gumbo requiring a very specific palate. Weirdly, putting this film up against the wonkiness of today's knee-jerk political spectrum, in the first part it in some ways could be seen as a crazy extreme alt-right fantasy of traditional family values intermingled with masculine control and dominance, overseen by a trusted maternal figure. In that way, it demonstrates anti-woke themes way before that terminology came into the vernacular, and that entitled women who use their empowerment to emasculate and belittle men get grievously punished for their transgressions by quote-unquote strong men not afraid to put them in their place and put a stamp on it. Women who could never live up to the virtues of their mother. Then blammo, the ladies flip the script, and the film transitions into a pro-feminist revenge story in which freewheeling women not only gain the upper hand, but put their own stamp on it. That the film goes woke by having the women win against the vulgar family illustrates how horror can be at its best, or maybe worst, when it takes politics of all stripes and plays no favorites.
Whoa, shots fired!
Although that's not to say I don't enjoy a film that maintains a political through line like A Clockwork Orange, They Live, or Red State.
I don't know what you're laughing about, Piggy. Apparently this guy went to market and had roast beef.
Don't be mistaken. The women are rude and crude, crass and brassy, and not at all times great examples of human beings. For personal gratification, they're flagrant button pushers, disrespectful and unkind. They don't display a very zen, one-with-nature approach. They are takers, not leavers, and anyone who knows that reference deserves a trophy. They litter, they play mean tricks, leave calamity in the wake of their antics, espouse how great it would be to turn the woods into a city, and maybe worst of all to a certain subsection of society, make sport of men. Declarations like,
"Oh, I hate to be the one to tell you this, but ain't none of them nice girls,"
are inspired by women operating with such disregard to the general feelings of others. But that doesn't make them deserving of the fate that befell them. The scale is skewed because the karmic justice meted out is too harsh. I feel as though critics maybe took exception to the fact the ladies weren't idealized, and they found that the notion they were depicted at all negatively a sure sign the filmmaker's message was that they deserved to be beaten and defiled. But I don't think that's the case. What I see is that the women are more nuanced than we often get in black and white horror films, where we can pick out the victims based on their behavior, and only the virtuous survive unless killed off, to make a point. That Jackie dies while an elitist, arrogant, and rather rotten woman like Trina survives demonstrates what seems, at least from the standpoint of a viewer, an unfairness, when what it actually says is that in life there are no favorites. No people so good some greater power will always ensure they emerge unscathed. That's just not how it works. Jackie, the perpetual victim, dies the perpetual victim, never given the chance at a satisfying arc. This is tragic and sad, but so are the deaths of all the people killed randomly in public shootings. Perhaps the film would have been better regarded had Trina, the mean-spirited model minx, been the one used, abused, and turned into refuse. But that's just another example of the unfairness of life, that a victim of life like Jackie wouldn't be the one to fight. The coda at the end does fall short for me. Jackie didn't die because she wasn't strong. She died because some psychos made her a plaything and roughed her over too badly to recover. Not everyone can survive going through a grinder. It's more than a tad egotistical to conclude both were stronger when neither went through the varied assault Jackie suffered. The thing is, though, when it came to crunch time, they did rise to the occasion, so I can't begrudge them carrying away that message. That is, if Queenie didn't carry away their entrails. Abby's hands are destroyed, preserving Trina's chance to escape. I suppose an argument could be made that she did it for all of them, but one's own sense of self-preservation can be tested by extreme pain. We can flag and fail ourselves way easier than we can fail those we love. When able to flee, Trina sticks around to save her friends. Could the argument be made that it would have been better to go seek help? I think so, but it represents that aforementioned quixotic view of life, in which the good triumph. In reality, her friends could be killed and their bodies disposed of, in the time it took for her to convince authorities to return, so I consider her decision courageous and solid. An aspect that seemed to particularly get caught in critical craws was that the twisted family dynamic in the film creates an appalling situation in which mother sanctions and even participates in the commission of brutality against women, in some way, I guess, letting the boys off the hook for their dastardly actions, since a higher authority has given them permission. What may actually be the most uncomfortable facet is not that Mother permits evil, it's that Ike and Adley, for all their awfulness, are victims too, of a matriarch who manipulates them into feeding into her sadism. They're living dolls she does with as she pleases. Everything they accept as reality funneled through her gatekeeping, and if they question her world building, she holds the line, quick to gaslight and confuse. Bravo! If not top-notch parenting, effective nonetheless. Mother proves there are vastly different kinds of neglect. She was there, not absent or distant. In fact, she was overseeing all, the worst kind of helicopter parent, offering constant guidance. Whereas most parents advise against the worst instincts of humanity, she not only encouraged but forced them.
What for thrust, son?
Giving positive reinforcement for the worst acts. And why? To fulfill her own weird desires, because she's a devious deviant desiring for dominance, and a few cans short of a six-pack besides. Encouraging her sons to be little more than vacuous predators, looking for their next thrill, their next dopamine bump, is a reflection of how she operates, a dark cycle akin to that of addiction. I feel like Mother is an extreme case of a parent living vicariously through her sons, needing them to carry out acts in service of her needs. She's ridiculously codependent, manipulating them to stay with her at all costs. She insulates them in white trash decadence, isolated in the woods, sequestered away from the realities of society. They have free rein to be as unloosed and rotten as they like. The brothers' over-the-top antagonism toward each other reminds me of Pluto and Mars in the original The Hills Have Eyes.
Huey, you wait till you get to be a man.
Whereby even though they are working in accordance to achieve a common goal, they are always at each other's throats, committed to a twisted rivalry that helps neither. This seems another of Mother's ploys to maintain control by pitting them against each other so they never think to team up against her. Adley says Ike told him she lies about Queenie. Mother prevaricates and guilt trips. She needs to keep them mixed up. Is Mother in some way vindicated because the threat of Queenie susses out? No, because if you know there's a danger in the woods, move. Find another hovel somewhere else in which to squat. It's not like derelict abandoned houses aren't sprinkled all over the place in America's backwaters. But she wants Ike and Adley to grovel at the altar of Mother, to revere and consider her word divine. Queenie makes a good boogie woman for her to use, an existential threat to reference, the mystic lake monster to keep the kids from swimming too deep. Even if the boys want to go their own way, she has indoctrinated them deeply enough she can always ensure they stay. Perhaps she recognizes, as the audience certainly does, the real likelihood that without her influence, they would quickly get caught due to their inherent dunderheadedness.
Oh, Lord.
In final analysis, Mother's Day is a film that forcefully makes the audience pass judgment, often to the disadvantage of the protagonists, who are shown to be as prone to bad behavior as a lot of baddies, but also on the very makers, who thought it was a good idea to make such an offensive horror flick. The film plays on ancient fears in the face of modern entitlement, by pitting a trio of city slickers against a cretinous backwoods family, civilization seemingly left behind. Since this is a stale story as old as time, through exceedingly extreme exploitive events, it proves that if it can't achieve originality, it can seek other heights, those of shock, disgust, and revulsion. Not very noble, but whatever fills the theater seats with butts, or drive-ins with vehicles. The film might also be offering insight into what amounts to a boomerang effect of exploitation. The East Coast boasts many cities, but also contains some of the most rural areas. As the needs of the cities grow, eminent domain rolls over country folk, as the need for aqueducts and expansion are deemed more important than the rights of multi-generational homesteaders, who are given market value for their land and forced along, too often in unfair exchange. The city people want to use the land as they see fit, whether it be to ensure fresh water for the masses, or to take carefree excursions. Unfortunately for them, the Rat Pack in particular, sometimes there's a snapback from all that taking, and even if the city people can come back, even greater savagery can emerge. But any such message would certainly be inadvertent in a film such as Mother's Day. So, which side do I come down on? Do I agree with the detractors or Eli Roth? Is it better than its haters would have us believe?
You certainly think so.
I acknowledge the lowbrow, odious, and downright nauseating nature of this film. As I pointed out, this is not to everyone's tastes. But some people consider kasu marzu, cheese infused with living maggots, a delicacy. Proving taste is quite subjective. I don't speculate about the flavor because I doubt I could get past the wriggling.
Exquisite mouthfeel.
I have severe doubts. Is Mother's Day a delicacy? Maybe if you consider Rocky Mountain oysters a delicacy, but if you can gain a taste for it, it can be choked down. I also acknowledge the plethora of stupid decisions and actions, but on some sad, weird level, all that's life. People do stupid things. They do bad things. They pick up the wrong lessons from society. They commit atrocities because the people in charge give them license, from the lowest to the highest level of humanity. Does this film's very weird sensibility and preposterous tics cost it verisimilitude? For sure, and I would say by design. I feel like the absurdity and outlandishness indemnifies it from the worst criticisms, because the off-kilter tone tells the audience the film may touch on serious subject matter in hopes of engendering suspense, but it's a roller coaster ride not meant to be treated as high art, or art at all. Nor should any of its depravity be taken to heart. That might reveal Mother's Day's biggest fault, that by not treating such subject matter seriously, it smacks too much of exploitation for sake of exploitation, and that way comes off as disrespectful to real victims, and all just to make a buck. But I think that would all be giving the makers way too much credit. I don't think they thought about it. I think they saw things like The Last House on the Left, Savage Weekend, and I Spit on Your Grave, and tried their hand at such a picture, never giving consideration to how it would ultimately be perceived, or that they would be deemed the worst kind of provocateurs. John Kenneth Muir wrote in his book Horror Films of the 1980s, "I'm quite certain, down to my horror movie-loving core, that Mother's Day is a bad movie." Maybe it is a bad movie. Even though I recognize many of his points, I can't agree with him or other critics that say this film lacks all social value, though. So in the end, I agree more with Eli Roth, who as a fan with keen insight into social commentary, maybe sees the forest through the trees in a way haughty critics, operating under a bias against horror and highbrow notions of decorum, never can. Still, like in regard to all the heavier horror films, I would never begrudge anyone for hating it.
Yep, I think you've overstayed your welcome, friend.
The bricks failed, Edie. You had your shot, you blew it.
I regret nothing!
Pew, 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 pew.
Is Mother's Day worth a watch? If you've listened this far, I would say that one's up to your discretion. Between the rough subject matter and grittiness, this one can be a hard watch to be sure, although I wouldn't recommend watching it with your mom, or letting her know you watched it. It might make her feel like a failure as a parent. Sorry, Mom. And I just want to give a special thank you to Bundle of Sticks. He was my college roommate, and we've been friends a really long time, and I asked him to step up and do this for me, and he was happy to oblige.
Have me back anytime. I love talking about bad movies.
Well, I've about reached the end of the rope, so I won't leave you dangling. I won't lie, covering this one was a little like playing a game of Rochambeau with myself. Thank you for hearing out my ramblings. Please share any refutations, opinions, accusations, japes, or other ideas in the comments below. And please join me next time, when I do something a little different, as I mark the 25th anniversary of the passing of a performer, for which I have a great deal of respect. And remember, never forget your mama. Happy Mother's Day, Mom and Moms. Bye now.
My boys.